this traffic jam, dreaming of the green pastures I once ran.
Hello, I'm Miles DeMott, and welcome once again to the podcast that's all about Brevard. All about Brevard. We are once again today stuck in traffic, and we have another special guest. With us today is Parker Platt, architect extraordinaire, longtime resident of Brevard, and generally a nice guy, at least I've heard. I don't know him well, but I'm hoping to get him to know him better today. So thank you for joining us, Parker.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
So your family came here years ago. I guess your dad, from the little bit I know, your dad is also an architect.
That's right.
And you guys moved in. How old were you when you moved here?
I was in preschool.
So you've been here a while?
Yeah, I hadn't been here long enough to be called a local, though. Actually,
How long does that
I've been
take?
long enough to be called a local, not long enough to be called a native. You got to be born here to be called a native, and there's a big differentiation between the two in this county.
Okay, explain that.
Well, I mean, I've served for years on the county planning board, and a lot of people that come speak to the planning board would stand up, and the first thing they say is, "I was born and raised in Transylvania County," and you know, it's a thing. So unfortunately, I got here as fast as I could.
Preschool, yes. Yeah. So interestingly, and that was when the two plants were here, and there was sort of a middle. The economy was something different.
It was different. There was a middle class. I mean, there was a real middle management, middle class.
Yeah. So, and when y'all first came in, your dad was, I think, from what I understand, designing condos and stuff like in Sapphire and other places. He was early on the limb as far as an architect in this part of the world.
That's right. He was working with Henry McDonald and Sam Bruton. He came here right out of graduate school. And that was during the oil embargo, and there was a lot of things in the early 70s that weren't going real well, and I guess the mid 70s. But there was work here. There's a lot going on up in Cashers and Highlands and Sapphire, and Henry and Sam did a ton of work up there and all over Brevard, and gave Dad a job when he moved to town, and that's how it all started.
Huh. What's your favorite thing about living here?
It's partly that the world kind of comes to us.
Unpack that one, because I think I've heard variations of that, but tell me what that means.
Well, I mean, I've been quoted a few times or said a few times, and it's been repeated that, when I was 16 years old, if you told me I was going to be living here when I was 52, I would have thought, what the hell went wrong?
Yeah.
But
did
it's
go
been,
wrong?
That's a good question. I'm still trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
But it's been a remarkable place to be able to make a life and make a living. And I had an opportunity, which was that I wanted to do what my dad did, and you could do that here. And he welcomed me into that. But and through our work really, but really through the attraction of this place. I mean, people come here, so I mean, it's helpful to get out occasionally too. But the world sort of comes to us in a lot of ways. So
one of our earlier guests had an interesting distinction. He said people live in Brevard because they want to. Mm-hmm. So I find that really different from people who live, well, I'm sure there are people who live in Atlanta and Charlotte and Birmingham and every place because they want to, but a lot of people live in those larger markets because they have to, because that's where the work is.
Everybody I've ever worked for from Houston wants to be out of Houston.
Wants to be out of Houston.
Yeah, I mean, people live here because they want to, and a lot of people want to live here and they can't. And that's changed a lot with the new sort of economy and the ability for people to work from anywhere. But I mean, I don't know a person that I went to high school with that doesn't wish they could be here now.
Huh.
That might be an exaggeration, but most of them would like to be
We
here.
welcome exaggerations.
Yeah, okay.
Hyperbole is my middle name. And I think it's on the door of your office too.
That's true.
So when you look at your role in planning board and all of this, you're plugged into lots of different places, and you guys planted a flag here, and you've done wonderful things here. What could be done better? What do you see on the dashboard or out over the hood that says we need to go in this direction to make this place even better? What are some of those things?
Well, I think I think about that a lot, and I've talked to a lot of people about that, and I think first of all, we can always strive to be better. I mean, it's a great place, but when you've been here as long as I've been here, you tend to look at the blemishes more than maybe you do the beauty, or focus on those maybe more than you should sometimes. But in the late 90s, the city, my mom was on city council at the time, and the city developed a document called Focus 2020, which is a document that focused on 2020, which we're now past. But it was a really impressive piece that was developed with a whole lot of city community input.
And that was that document written like after the plants closed, and it was
before the plants closed.
Okay.
It was in the declining years, but it was before.
But
the
they
plants
anticipated
closed.
the plants were leaving.
Yeah, but it really was a document of actionable items that touched on all aspects of community life, and actually there was a person whose job it was to implement that vision or that focus. And that went really well for a number of years, and a lot of things came out of that. Eventually it sort of fizzled a little bit, and we're way past needing to revive that. So what I think we need to be the best place we can be is from a county standpoint is to develop a true unified vision. That
The
is
county and the town.
the whole place. I mean, because we're inseparable, and we need to be better at that.
Yeah.
We're way too divided.
How long has it been since that document was revisited?
It's never been revisited since 1990.
So maybe we need a vision,
We need a
20,
vision
20,
2050.
2030 or
Yeah,
something.
that's right. And
How do we make that happen?
well, I mean, we got to get buy-in, and we need the county and the city to work together on that, which I'd love to see.
Historically, that's not happened, though.
No,
Why is
but-
that?
I don't know. You should ask them. But I mean, we're not a huge place. I mean, we're 30-something thousand people, and we're a small town, and I mean, it's expensive to operate this place and to keep it up and to make it what it can be. And if the more we can work together, the better off we're all going to be. And we're only going to move forward in a good way and in a way that benefits everybody if we can find the middle. We're having a hard time doing that at every level right these days.
Yes, we are. Yeah.
But we need to find the middle.
There's a middle?
Yeah, right.
I thought it was all tribal now.
There's the people that were born and raised here, and there's the people that came here 9 months ago, right? And they all have or want to be here for whatever reason they want to be here, and most of them are excited about it. And so, how do we work together and create that Focus 2050, Focus 2030? No, it needs to be more than 30. We're already at 25. So
Yeah. So when your mom's involved in that process, how did it start? So how do we start that conversation?
Council started it. It started with a directive from council, from city council, and there was some funding behind it, and which it had to have, and as I said, it was staffed post creation
Right.
with an implementation specialist. I mean, things happen. Interesting things happen out of that. Important things. So I think that as a county, I mean, I just use the word community but I don't really, I try not to differentiate between Brevard and Transylvania County or Rosman or anything. It's just, we're just one big community.
Right.
And that's what I believe we need to do.
One of the best things that on a town this size, it seems, I'm stunned. I live out the Greenville Highway, so I pass it coming in and out of town, but the Boys and Girls Club is stunning. I don't know that I've ever seen in a town of 8,000 people or a county of 30,000 people, a campus of that size and impact is unimaginable to me. And I don't have children that age anymore, so I'm not as plugged into that. But there are always kids running around. It's just a great thing. So how did that? And I know that started with your mom, but how is that? And you and your family do a great job of raising money for it and supporting it. But it has obviously been embraced by the community.
It has.
And it's what an asset. I mean, what a thing.
I think it's a huge community asset. It's an absolute necessity at this point. It wasn't just started by my mom. It was started by a group of well-meaning folks here who actually had the idea brought to them by a woman whose son was going to the Boys and Girls Club in Henderson County, which is a great club, and said, "You guys need to do one of these here." And sort of pointed at a few people, and they said, "Okay, well, let's figure that out." My mom asked me to join the board when I was in my 20s, and right after it started. And at that time, we were operating out of the old Mary Jenkins Center, which was about 2,500 square feet, and we were serving about 25 kids a day. And I think this summer so far, we've served 380 unique kids. So it's kind of unbelievable the distance the club has come in the 20 plus years that it's been in existence, and it's been hard work, this community has circled around it in a really impressive way. We're currently expanding the club, and that sort of follows a need. We basically couldn't look at waiting lists of 150, 160, 180 kids anymore without saying we got to step up to this and we got to serve more kids, which is what we're currently doing, and we've had remarkable support from the community.
So one of the most fascinating parts of that story is when I had visited Brevard years ago when the plants were still here, but I don't remember those days, and I didn't live here, so. But it's a very different place now. But I've described it to lots of people as it's almost like a barbell. So you're either in your 20s and 30s with young kids, or you're late life, 60s, 70s. You're retired here. But unlike you, I mean, you're in the middle. You have a business here and all that sort of stuff. But there's a gap that the middle that was here when the plants were here and all that sort of stuff. And a lot of that has been, tourism has replaced some of that, which is great, and that's an industry unto itself, and that's wonderful to see. But for those 20s and 30s who have young kids who want to make a life here, the Boys and Girls Club is just essential.
Yeah,
and it's a great outlet.
Yeah, I mean, when I first got involved, and I'm still on the board, and I don't have any kids, but I kind of never, I don't know why, but I never really imagined that. My friends' kids would go there. My employees' kids would go there. I mean, everybody goes there. And the beauty of it in this community is there's no stigma around it at all. Right. Everybody's
like
there.
The YMCA.
Everybody's there. And I remember years ago, somebody, we were kind of we had more kids than we could serve, and somebody said, well, there's a doctor's kid going there. There's and you're not making room for the poor kids. And my mom said something really insightful. She said, every child's at risk. It doesn't matter what their socioeconomic background is. And, a rising tide lifts all boats. And that's, when I was growing up, there was basically one school here. There was Rosmanheim, Brevard High, but everybody went to school together. And there just wasn't any other option. Right. And so everybody was there. The kids who needed the most amount of help and the kids that had the most amount of opportunity, and together, and their whatever support they had around them, everybody kind of worked together. It's a little different now, but it's not it's not the same as it was, but it's not terribly different. I mean, we're not buried in private schools and things like that. And I like the idea of that the community is kind of lives together.
So you're an architect. Do you have the opportunity to? I know you're doing houses in other markets and other places and all that sort of stuff, but in this market, I'm reminded of. You ever heard of Columbus, Indiana? Mm-hmm. Which is a little town in Indiana where it was the Cummins Diesel family. Mm-hmm.
And they funded a bunch of great architects.
They had Alvar Aalto come in and do buildings. They had I.M. Pei come in and do a building. And this is a town that's probably not much bigger than this.
Right.
So have there been opportunities for you or other architects to create something that is art in this town? And would you like that? And how do we line up a family that's got enough money to fund it, and so they can just create wonderful public spaces? Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think about architecture as the building getting out of the way. Huh. I don't think about architecture as an object. I've never have, and I'm not interested in it that way. I'm interested in it as making experience or making opportunity for experiences. And so, I've been around the Brevard Music Center my entire life. My dad we have done all the work out there for over 40 years. My dad built the Composer's Cottage. You had a guest composer. Yeah. My dad physically built the Composer's Cottage out there, designed and built it like 43 years ago. Huh. And on its 40th anniversary, we renovated it for the music center. But I've been able to sort of grow up there, and I can stand in the middle of that campus and be surrounded by buildings that I had something to do with at some point in my career. And the high watermark of that for me at this point is the Parker Concert Hall, which is not named after me. But
well, damn, I know. I've told several people that already.
I don't. If people want to think that, that's fine. But being able to be a part of making that place happen and the experiences that can happen in there for the music center and with the music center, in that sort of central location on campus that allows everybody to engage with it in some way. It was really, that whole process was a wonderful opportunity.
And that's another interesting asset for a town of 8,000 people.
It is. I mean, this town is you got a 4-year liberal arts college with an outdoor focus in arts. You got the Brevard Music Center, world level, world class place. You got however many summer camps we have. You've got a great art scene, a killer music scene. I mean, there's 30,000 people here. You go find another place like that in Southern Appalachia. Or
in the country.
That's
that's kind of where I'm.
That's right. No, I agree.
It's a fascinating place.
It's easy to lose sight of that when you just go to work every day here for your whole life.
Right.
But it's nice to have conversations like this so you can kind of remember that.
So you were kind enough to do it, and you do it every year, a fundraiser at your house for the Boys and Girls Club. And I had heard that you had found and I think you even described it, I'll use different words. But when you found the house that you live in, it was like you found it. And you saw it, I think, from what I understand, you saw it when you were much younger and said, one day I'm going to own it.
I think I've convinced myself that I did say that. But,
it's a great story. And here at Stuck in Traffic, we never let the facts get in the way of a good story.
Yeah, I mean, Woody and my brother and I started floating the French Broad duck hunt in the winter when we were in high school. And we floated. That was our favorite section to float by, and we saw that house. And I remember when I thought, well, that's a weird looking house. And what's that house doing up there? And then they watched them add on to it in the '90s. And at some point, I probably, said something like, "One day, that's all going to be mine." But I had the opportunity to sort of take myself almost underwater and get a hold of it. And it's a wonderful place. It was designed and built by an architect for himself. He's a South Florida guy. And it's a quirky house. It's not the house I would have designed and built for myself, but it's a great party house. It's way more house than I need, but it's on an amazing spot.
Yeah,
it is. You really can't. It's all about the place.
Location, that's exactly why I was bringing it up, because the house is, let's set the house aside. It serves almost as a metaphor for the town, because a lot of people come through here, and like I said in the promo video, if you visit here, you're going to want to buy a house. And so when you see it, when you experience the space, whether you go into the forest or you float the river or whatever it is, and there's just this, I hate to use this word because it's so overused, but vibe. There's this thing about this place. Mm-hmm. And I was reminded of that because, again, I don't know that your house would be what I would design for me either, but it is a thing. It is an encapsulation of an emotion or a draw. It has a sense of place, very much like this town. Yeah. And if you get it, there are a lot of people that will go into your house and they're like, "Oh, this is an ugly," This is ugly.
Well, it's like what I was saying about Megan Architecture. It's like it's a place to make experiences,
right?
And I mean, it's and it facilitates that pretty well.
So does the town.
Yes, that's right.
And another interesting thing about this town is it doesn't try to be everything. It welcomes you in, and if you get it, great. If you don't, Charlotte's down the road, or Atlanta, go back to Atlanta, or go back wherever.
That's right.
But if you really get it, it's almost unlimited, mm-hmm. but in a very quiet way. Mm-hmm. And the people are also very quiet, and it's just, if you get it, it's just a neat. I've never experienced a place like this because there's almost no pretense. There's no, and you may disagree with this, but there's no artifice. And people are here because they want to be here, and they work jobs that normally in other markets they may not work.
Yeah.
Because the market is such that, you could be a very well-educated, wonderful, brilliant person, but you wait tables or you mm-hmm. do stuff because that's the work that's available, mm-hmm. and you want to be here for that. That's just a really weird thing.
Weird, good.
It's
strange,
good. I mean, it's weird
unusual.
in a good way. Yeah,
it is weird.
But everybody's happy.
Yeah,
it's almost the Scandinavia of the Appalachians. It's just because that's always the happiest place in the world is Scandinavia.
Yeah, of course.
They have pretty girls there too, but that's another story. But it's just an interesting town for that, and everybody seems happy.
Yeah.
Another thing is like morning social and Square Root and some of the, and 185 obviously, but compared to other markets, because I travel around a good bit and I always saddle up at the bar, even though I don't drink, and I try to strike up a chat, right? This place, the people are receptive.
They'll talk to you.
They'll talk. And they'll listen and they'll engage and all that. But if you go to, you go to other places and a lot of folks don't.
Yeah.
That is stunning. So the sense of community that you were describing earlier, it's a visceral experience in this town. Would you agree with that?
I do. And I encourage people, people that have, relocated here or come here and found it for all the reasons you're talking about. I just say, look, find a way to plug in.
Yeah.
Find a way to plug in, make this community better, it's, there's more than when I was younger, there's more sort of cliques here than there used to be.
Huh.
And I just, and that's fine. There's that everybody's got different interests but I just say, the real clique is community.
Right.
And so, plug in some way and it'll, because it pays you back in spades if you do, versus just sort of taking advantage of what it has to offer.
Right.
So
it has also been described as sort of an Asheville from 30 years ago, 40 years ago, and you've been here long enough to remember all of this, and I'm not looking for an economic analysis, but Asheville, which is a lovely town, but from what I understand and from what I remember 30, 40 years ago, it was a very different town.
Mm-hmm.
So there is the potential that like a Brevard or somewhere in the outlying communities will absorb some of that and the rising tide is going to raise all boats. Mm-hmm. So there's a danger that Brevard could be overdeveloped or could be whatever. Mm-hmm. Is that a fear?
Yeah, which is why I said we need to have a community vision. Because if you don't have a vision for yourself, somebody else will give it to you.
Give it for you.
That's right. And absolutely, that's a concern. And, we're going to grow. We have to. But how we grow can be up to us if we're willing to come together and figure that out and not just pretend like we're not going to grow or somehow it's going to be what it was like 30 years ago.
How do we fix the affordable housing?
That's a $400 million question.
I'll give you $1.50. That's all I got in my pocket. But is there I know there's not an easy fix.
Well, obviously, everybody, you can complain about this all day long, and people, we have a short-term rental on Main Street, but the Airbnb is a real killer to these small communities that are attractive.
Right.
Because, your neighborhood, the neighborhood I grew up in across from Franklin Park, and my sister still lives in the house we grew up in, and I can see 6 Airbnbs from the front yard. That's where families used to live. Right. We've controlled it a bit here, but, the cow's pretty far out of the barn. But, all those sort of entry level or family level, early family level houses that are out of the mix don't help anything. And I think that putting some pressure on that would, in the form of, we need another hotel. Yes. We need a boutique hotel. We need a sort of a different level hotel. So having some more accommodation opportunities that aren't just going somewhere and renting a house would, I think, put some pressure on the maybe free up some of those areas.
To go back into the single family market.
Yes.
Yeah. So are there, I know I call it the Gulch, and I don't know why I call it that, but it's a big hole where the city camper or whatever thing was. Yeah. And I don't know where that stands. I've asked some folks in Birmingham because I think the fellow that owns it's in Birmingham, and I've not been able to get any answers. But there should be something there that has.
Yeah, and that's a vulnerable spot. Obviously, at this point, it seems to be dead in the water to me. I don't know any details, but it's unfortunate. And it's unfortunate it's in that condition, especially. That's a tough site. I've spent a lot of time looking at that site and thinking about that site. I was part of a group that was trying to, kind of convince the commissioners to pursue an opportunity to expand our existing courthouse versus moving to a green field somewhere. And so have looked and thought about that site a fair amount. I mean, that site is 4 or 5 stories below Main Street,
Right.
the entry point of that. So there's a real sort of, I mean, it doesn't seem like much, but there's a real physical barrier
Right.
there. And trying to develop a site with that kind of topography on it,
tough.
on a highway, is tough.
Yeah.
It's a tough nut to crack. And,
Right.
and the way they were doing it, was how they were going to do it.
Right.
And some people liked it, some people didn't, but at least it was a project, and that was going to be really positive. I get really worried about it getting developed in a bad way because it's super visible. I mean,
Yes.
by the time you stack a 4 or 5
Yes.
story, and that's the first thing you see when you come up the hill into the center of Brevard. That sort of, maybe you can find the money to hire that really famous architect to come in and make that piece of art right there.
That's a good idea.
Yes.
I like that.
And fund it too.
Yeah. Okay, I'll work on that. But that actually should be, all of those things should be, I really like this idea of the Vision 2050 thing. I think that needs to happen.
I agree.
So how do we get that ball rolling? Because, they say
I
about
think
Wiseman.
there's some conversation about that. There's a community group that's been, a community conversation group that's been coming together once every month or so, that's spearheaded by Mike Hawkins and David Watkins and some others. And with the trying to engage broadly the community and trying to create some direction towards vision, and that's the way that's moving, and that's a positive. So the conversation is there. It's not currently in the elected realm. It's more in the community leadership realm.
Right.
But it's not a non. I mean, I'm not just pulling this out of the air. It's a conversation, but it needs to be more than that.
Yeah. Let's work together and try to get that conversation
All right.
bigger and louder and involving more people,
Sounds good.
because that needs to happen.
Yeah.
So my last question, because I know you got to go back to work,
Yeah,
is this: you don't have kids, but if you have to imagine a world where you have kids and you have grandkids. You're too young for that, and way too handsome. But your grandson or your granddaughter comes to you, or your daughter, your kid, or whatever. Dad, I'm thinking about moving back to Brevard. And this is a conversation you probably had with your dad, or maybe it wasn't that way. Maybe it was coming the other way. There's an opportunity here. Do you want to blah, blah, blah? But
no, it's pretty much me saying I'm coming back.
so let's pretend you've got a kid and it's now 30 years ahead of that.
Mm-hmm.
And you're looking with that kid, you're looking 30 years ahead of that. What are you saying? Are you saying, yeah, that's a good idea? Yeah, no, that's a bad idea. These are the things. If you're interested in these things, this is why you should or shouldn't.
I mean, if I'm spending my life the way I'm spending my life here, engaged with the community the way I'm engaged with the community here, imagining that I wouldn't say yes, come back here, it's a great opportunity, would mean that I've failed.
So you're
I'm not
modeling
willing
it. You don't even have to have the conversation. That kid would see you doing what you're doing and enjoying it.
Yeah, and the community would be better and better and better over time, and so whatever the great things are now, they would be maybe some different things, but they would be more enhanced than they are now, and that we would be in a place that has moved forward in really positive ways.
So that same kid says, well, Dad, I want to start a business.
Mm-hmm.
What is a segment of the Brevard economy what are 3 things that this town needs, that this town could support, that would be good opportunities for a kid to come in and start building? Because I don't think we need any more realtors.
We need another vape shop.
I don't think we need another vape shop. But what do you? Is there anything that strikes you as this would be a good addition? This would help. This would build community. This would do other things. It may not. I don't know. I'm not. The last time I lived in a market this size was when I grew up in a small town in South Georgia, and that was a long damn time ago.
Well, I mean, I would look for. I mean, for years I've said, until we were graced with morning social opening, I was like, the low hanging fruit here is somebody open a damn breakfast place,
There you go.
because we need a breakfast place.
Yes.
Same thing. The hotel's an opportunity.
Yes.
But those are big. I mean, those aren't sort of, they're different. Well, I mean, they're all.
Well, how do we
they're
attract
real
those
things.
people?
Yeah, yeah.
How do we go to Birmingham and talk the guy into
That's right.
and putting a hotel on the Gulch?
Yeah,
and
that's
just
right.
go on, get on with it. Let's do
Gulch.
it.
I'm gonna start calling it the Gulch.
Okay.
But I mean, the vision would be that in 30 years, there's a very, very unique, maybe world-class micro-industrial park where Augusta used to be.
Yes.
That is a place where lifestyle-oriented industry.
Clean manufacturing.
Yeah, I mean, Sylvan Sport is an example of that. Lifestyle-oriented industry can get a start and can attract the workforce because the workforce wants to be here for what this place has to offer. And then maybe it's a launching point for them to grow beyond this community, but it's a starting point. And so that brings a sort of richness of entrepreneurship and people that might come here with more education than they,
need,
but they have an opportunity to work in these in this whatever this lifestyle manufacturing company is, and for a period of time and be that needed workforce, right? And then there's also housing to support that, and somehow it engages with that amazing stretch of the Davidson River, and I mean there's just that opportunity down there. When it breaks free, it is a big deal.
Yeah.
And that being done well is going to be a major part of the economic future. It's the only really
flat ground
opportunity of any scale that we have.
And the Augusta Bike Trail should connect
everything.
there.
Everything.
Yeah.
I mean, Augusta Bike Trail, the current bike path, the connection into the forest. I mean, the 2 miles of the Blue Ribbon Trout Stream. I mean, it's but making that happen so that, it's not a trout stream behind a manufacturing facility.
Right.
That the place is envisioned in a way that is world class. Something new, something different, something that makes us even that much more unique and provides opportunity at a scale for the kind of growth that we might envision.
So is this group that's having this conversation, and are there economic development people in place that are going out and talking to the Sylvan Sport type of people?
Yeah. Burton Hodge is doing it. You ought to have him in. Burton Hodge is doing, I think, a great job in the economic development realm.
Okay.
And he's got a great energy for it. And he's got a vision, and he seems to be fairly fearless. And so I think we have some of the pieces in place to move in that direction. So you combine, that sort of focus and that energy with maybe this community visioning effort.
Yeah.
And those come together, because you got to have opportunity and create the opportunity. So,
but to recruit the opportunity, you have to be a community with a vision that says,
that's right,
we're looking out for you in these ways, and we're looking out over the hood, and you're an important part. Come here and play with us.
Yep. I was part of those community conversations once when we were talking about schools. And the challenge of the school.
Right.
We don't need to get into that right now. But if I was a business company coming in, to think about relocating here, first thing I'd say is, what's your vision? Show me your community vision.
Right.
Right. And then, if your community vision, I said, if your community vision was simply this, we want to provide the best possible education for our kids that we could provide, bar none.
My God, everybody'd build here.
That could be the vision for your whole damn community, and everything that happens could center around that.
Yeah, look at Japan. Look at Finland.
Yeah,
other people doing it.
But we're not doing that.
No, we're not.
And we need to be. So and back to the Boys and Girls Club. Boys and Girls Club is playing a key role in that, I think, and we have an incredible staff and a great board, and as I said, great community support, but that piece and those pieces playing together is an essential part of the future of this community.
Last item. I say this, and maybe I'll mention this at another time offline, but the Boys and Girls Club, and I know Boys and Girls Club National probably tracks this sort of data, but it would be interesting to track the kids that you have served over the last 20 years against a control sample of unserved kids, and view not necessarily the economic impact on the town, but also on the kids, but also the sociological impact on those kids, so that you've got
measurable.
Because if you're going to manage, you want to measure it and all that sort of stuff. So, because the same argument could be made for schools, and so the Boys and Girls Club has been very successful in that regard. So it's a way of saying, all right, well, for your visioning people, this works. If we just pay attention to
Yeah.
it and we design around it, this will work. And then all this other economic stuff will follow.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, and it answers all the questions. Like, what do we do? Look to that, look to that, right? Yeah, I'll give you just in terms of just a specific example of what over the 20 years has happened. Our current board chair at the Boys and Girls Club was a club kid.
Huh.
That's when you know
You've done something
you've
right.
gotten somewhere.
Yeah, you've done something right.
Yeah.
Well, this is fabulous. Thank you for joining
You
us.
bet. Thanks for having me.
Again, thank you guys for joining us for yet another episode of Stuck in Traffic. Today we were stuck in traffic with Parker, who is just not a native. We can't say he's a native, but he's a local. And you'll see the Platt name around town, and most of the time it's Parker, and he's behind it. So thank you, Parker. You are a hell of a man.
Thank you. Sorry, I don't have any opinions.
None. We try to attract people that don't have opinions because it's my opinion that really counts. And Parker appreciates that. So thanks for joining us. We were stuck in traffic, and we'll see you next time.
Oh, I'm stuck here in this traffic jam, dreaming of the green pastures I once ran. The road ahead's a snail's slow dance. This highway's robbed me of my chance.